Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Hypeman's AFL Uncensored, where every subject on or off the field is topic for conversation. Let's begin this episode with the issue of Isaac Rankin returning to Australia last Tuesday and issuing a public apology. The star returned to Australia on Tuesday night after furlough to Italy. He faced the media at the airport and issued a public apology to fans, players and the general public as a whole. He then later that day stood in front of his AFL colleagues and issued a public apology over the homophobic slur towards Isaac Rankin in round 23 of this year that saw him get banned for 4 weeks from the AFL. Following that, in Collingwood's qualifying final against Adelaide, Isaac Rankin was met with booing, constant booing. It has now come to light that some Adelaide fans at the game were yelling out homophobic slurs towards Isaac and Collingwood players. There's no room in AFL for slurs like that. And Isaac, even though you apologised, it has brought to the forefront the issues surrounding the AFL and the LGBTQIA plus community. People should be able to feel safe in our game, whether they're players, supporters, coaches, AFL staff, umpires, all of them. They should feel safe to express who they are in our game. And in Australia in 2025, there is no place in the AFL for homophobic slurs from players, umpires, supporters, anyone. Isaac, I respect that you came out and you admitted fault and that you are trying to better yourself and get education around bettering yourself. But for your Adelaide fans to come out and think it's okay on Thursday night against Collingwood to issue homophobic slurs, with some of your supporters writing letters to your club after Thursday night's game, refusing to renew their membership for 2026 after what they heard in the crowd. Some of your supporters being brought to tears by what was being said. The AFL Integrity Unit really needs to look at how we move forward and how we stamp this out of our game. Isaac is like the 4th or 5th player in the last 18 months from a VFL AFL level to be suspended for a homophobic slur. Well, this is a good stand by the AFL. What more can be done? And how do we stamp this out of our game? Because there is no place for it in our game. On to some trade news. Richmond delist tall duo Jacob Blight and Jacob Kaczynski. That's a really hard last name to pronounce. So if I got it wrong, I'm sorry. But both Jacobs have been delisted from Richmond. The pair were notified on Wednesday that they would not be offered contracts for the 2026 season. My question is, where does this leave Richmond going into this year's draft period? And where does it leave Richmond for 2026? Richmond don't have a lot of tall timber left. We're a very small side. But hopefully we can pick up a couple of talls in the AFL draft and especially look for a replacement for Toby Nankervis, who I believe doesn't have many games left. Maybe another year or 2 at most. But we need to start looking for his replacement in our ruck very, very soon. Meanwhile, St Kilda continue picking up stars left, right and centre, with both Jake Silvani from Carlton joining his teammate Tom De Koning to join Saints on a $4 million contract over 5 years. While West Coast free agent Liam Ryan has also picked St Kilda as his preferred home, with the stacks of talent heading to Moorabbin, hoping that St Kilda can make it deep into the finals period. Or have they just picked up duds and are they not going to make it that far and regret their decisions? 2026 should be the year of the Saints, but we'll have to watch this space. Last week during the pre-finals bye, Hawthorn Stars had a little fight at training. During the pre-final bye, Hawk Dylan Moore has admitted to decking teammate Josh Ward whilst playing a match sim. Moore was quoted saying it was all in good fun. Given the AFL's stance on assault, should these two players have received sanctions? Meanwhile, Hawthorn, do you have problems within your team? If your players are punching on at training, do the Hawks have issues that need to be resolved? My stance is, if your teammates, yeah, okay, training can get heated, especially in a match sim and a pre-finals bye. You're all keen to play some AFL. But punching on at a match sim, do better, Hawks. All right, just do better. After a big weekend of finals footy, once again, the AFL umpires, and I feel like we discussed this in an episode last week, come under fire for controversial free kicks. In the course of the weekend, some controversial free kicks were paid, sparking the AFL to admit they were wrong. And it was brought up the argument to fine players greater amounts for staging. So currently a staging fine is $1,500. With an early guilty plea, it can be reduced to $1,000. I think it was John Longmire over the weekend brought to the forefront that fine should be up to $10,000 for players. But even though players stage, should we also look at fining the umpires for paying those free kicks? God knows the umpire who umpired the Geelong-Brisbane game has not earned himself a spot in week 2 of the finals. As I said in last week's episode, umpires need to stop injecting themselves into games and stop buying into player antics. Blind Freddy could see Cam Rayner took the dive, not once but twice, resulting in back-to-back free kicks for Brisbane, bringing them to within 15 points of Geelong at a crucial stage of the game. Greg Swan has a lot to answer for and a lot of work to do with the umpiring department. And both of them have a lot of questions to answer to, and hopefully before the umpires cost a team a do-or-die game. Because I tell you what, if the margin wasn't greater than 12 points at the time those back-to-back free kicks were paid, just before half-time in the Geelong-Brisbane game, there would have been hell to pay. Players need to stop staging, but the umpires need to stop injecting themselves into the game. I saw a couple free kicks in the Gold Coast Freo game over the weekend as well that should not have been paid. They were staging. Players need to stop acting because, listen, we ain't in Hollywood here, okay? So, yeah, the players need education and need to be punished for staging, but let's also punish the umpires that award the free kicks, because at the end of the day the umpires should know when a player is staging. As I said, Cam Rayner went down way too easy twice in a row, directly in front of goal. Like, Cam, you're a stronger player than that. Stop acting, yeah? We know you can take a hit. We've seen it. Anyway, it's time to stamp staging out of the game. The umpires need to have a good hard look in the mirror at themselves. And Greg Swan and the umpiring department need to do something immediately. That's just my take on it. Let's get into finals footy results. Obviously, Collingwood beat Adelaide in a fiery clash at Adelaide Oval. The Crows fans gave a booing welcome to Isaac Quaynor, whilst the commentators wished Isaac Rankin was out there, miscalling Quaynor as Rankin several times. Whilst Adelaide's loss pushes them to a semi-final against Hawthorn, it also allows Isaac Rankin to return at the grand final should the Crows make it all the way. As I stated earlier, we're not going to get into the Quaynor Isaac Rankin saga again, as I've already mentioned it earlier in this episode. But Crows fans, we get booing when they're lining up for goal to try and put them off. 100%. I'm not saying stamp booing out of the game, but booing a player that has copped so much heat over the last couple of weeks because one of your players made a mistake and gave him a homophobic slur during their game. It's not okay. And the Adelaide fans and the Adelaide Football Club alike should be ashamed of how last Thursday night's game went. Not only for the loss, but also for the booing and the homophobic slurs that were pointed at Collingwood players by the Adelaide Football Club fans. Geelong defeat Lions in a controversial game at the MCG. Geelong held off the Lions despite the umpires awarding back-to-back free kicks to the Lions, resulting in back-to-back goals, allowing the Lions to get back within 15 points. Lions ended up going down by 38 points at the end of that. Although a lot of questions were brought out of that game, especially towards the umpires, as just previously covered. So that leaves Brisbane taking on Gold Coast and Adelaide taking on Hawthorn this week. In the other two matches, GWS and Freo are out of the finals race. Hawthorn hold off GWS Storm to secure a debut win at NG Stadium, with Hawthorn leading the Giants by 42 midway through the third quarter. The Giants kicked 6 straight goals to bring the margin to 1 goal at the last break. Early in the last quarter, GWS ended up being up by 1 point, but Hawks held on to win by 19, ultimately ending GWS's run for the finals. Out of that loss, GWS licked their wounds and doubt the key moments that cost them that game. Meanwhile, at Optus Stadium, Damien Hardwick's Gold Coast Suns held off Freo by 1 point to secure their Virgin Finals win, where one retiring star was hero, whilst another retiring hero was left numb. David Swallow was the hero for the Suns, kicking the winning point for Gold Coast. The retiring star lined up for goal from 55 metres out. He bombed it straight through the big sticks. After celebrating the initial goal, on review, the ball was touched by the man on the mark. In the Freo camp, Nathan Fife's career came to an abrupt end at the final siren, which left the star, and I quote, numb after 248 games. With Gold Coast win, the question is, can they go all the way? And is Damien Hardwick one of the best coaches in the AFL? It also leaves Essendon as the only club not to win a final in the 18-team era. So it's time that Essendon look at themselves in the mirror and go, what do we do in 2020? Guys, that brings this episode to an end. With lots of controversy out there, there will be further episodes. Cheers.